All right, that thing says you are live. I get so excited whenever we start the live. Let me go check, make sure we're straight on Facebook. Yes, we are. And let me go make sure we're straight on YouTube.
Hey.
Um all right, it's okay, it's working. um
You were able to get it on Facebook too?
yeah, it's in the group.
Okay.
Hold on. Oh Lord, this thing says hold on, 25 minutes. Wait a minute. So excited whenever we start the live. Oh, okay, no, it's not. Okay. Oh Lord, this thing says hold on. Okay, all right, there we go.
Okay.
It's up there, girl. It's showtime. Okay. All right, so that is I'm looking. You know what I'm gonna start doing? I'm gonna start pulling the live up on Facebook from my phone because there is a there are some instructions at the top of the video that say if you're going from Facebook, there's a link that you have to click to give StreamYard permission to display your name. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user. So I think that is Sarita, Miss Worlds. Hey girl. Or either this is Trina. I don't know which one, but on Facebook, both of y'all are up here. But you have to give permission to StreamYard to show your name from Facebook up there. So, first of all, welcome
Hey,
to the
y'all.
Incredible Black Woman Show. This is technically episode 3. You know, I kind of slid in there on the 3rd week myself to try to give a little bit of information because our wonderful guest of honor, our special guest, Miss Lillia, on tonight wasn't able to come because the devil thought. But she is here now. Look at her.
Hey,
Isn't she
guys.
lovely?
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
so before we begin, I do want to start and open up in prayer. I ain't gonna take all night, I promise. So, Father God, in your son Jesus' name, I just want to say thank you for another opportunity to come together to fellowship, to have a conversation, hold ourselves accountable as Black women for choosing our freedom, for choosing our healing, oh God. I ask that your Holy Spirit come down, oh God, and permeate the atmosphere so that you can download into us what it is you would have for us to say, speak for us, speak to us, speak through us on tonight, oh God, so that someone watching is blessed, is touched by our story, our testimony, so that minds are open, that minds are changed, that someone can look at life a little bit differently, from a place of healing, oh God. You know, these conversations are so necessary. So we say thank you for this platform. Thank you for my amazing guest of honor, Miss Lillia Rockamore. Lord, I love her name. And so I just ask you, bless everyone that is watching on tonight. Keep us on tonight. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 That was long. Um, so before
Not
we begin,
long.
it won't long. I've been trying to keep it short.
Right.
I raised in the Baptist church, child. We can go long. Um, I'm going to first introduce myself, and then I would like for you to do the same.
Okay.
Um, and then if you want to now, you can give your stuff, but also at the end, you'll be able to give your platforms, what you do, how they can reach you, and everything like that. If you do not know me, my name is Alana Moore. I am first a woman of God. I am a certified personal life coach. I deal with accountability, emotional intelligence, self awareness, all that good stuff. I am the host of the Accountable Black Woman Show. And we are here tonight with our special guest, the star of the evening, Miss Lillia Rockamore. This is not about me, this is about her. So I want her to introduce herself. She is amazing, y'all. I know I keep talking, but she is so amazing. So go ahead, girl. Let them know who you are.
So yeah, my name is Lilia. I am a mom of 4. I have 3 boys, 1 girl. I am a transparency advocate. I'm someone who believes transparency is what heals. So I'm really just a regular woman that's done a lot of dumb things that makes me really smart now.
Okay.
So I just like to share my experiences and really, I feel like one of the ways, like I said, that we can heal our community is through being transparent. So I really appreciate you sharing your platform with me to have conversations like this that aid in that healing. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can give y'all my social media now and then again later. But my Instagram, it's I am Lillia Raquel. That's LILLIA RAQUEL. And then my business page is Lillia Raquel Designs. So I do custom shirts as well as graphic designs as well.
You do the shirt you got on?
I did. This is one of the
Okay.
shirts available on my site. It says body positivity, no matter the size. It's just I like to make shirts with like affirmations and just things to remind us to like stay positive and stay in that space as you go through the day. Because when you look in the mirror and you see this, it's gonna check your mind a little bit before you get to nitpicking yourself. You know, you'll be like, you know what? No matter the size, I'ma love this body. You know.
Okay. You gotta do a little shimmy when you.
Yeah,
Say that. You gotta
I'm
do
gonna
a
love
little.
this body.
I'm gonna love this body. I love it. We had to
Yeah.
gotta point out she did the shirt she's wearing, guys. So I just want to say thank you for coming on tonight. As you can see, the title is called Baby Mama Drama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we are two Black women who are mothers. We have lived the life and are still living the life of single moms. We have made sacrifices, what I like to call sacrificing your selfishness, baby,
Mm-hmm.
because some of the things we've chosen to do to give our children the best have not been easy, right? But we have been made self-aware enough to know that sacrifice is necessary. So tonight is called Baby Mama Drama. But before we start getting into the conversation, I have a piece that I wrote. And y'all gotta excuse me. I had COVID in January and June, and this cough, I don't know, it won't let up. Child, it's flu and RSV season. People think I'm got the sick. I'm good, but I might be coughing and checking my throat every now and then. So there's a piece I want to read to you guys. It is called The Narcissistic Single Mother. All right. Generally, when I say that, they be like, girl. But just hear me out. Just hear me out, okay? So the next time you decide to judge a single mother for the way she raises her children, don't. Okay. That's a quote by me. Okay, so check this out. Each one of us is a whole, three parts, yet one whole: mind, body, and spirit. So, as a single mother who has been raising a young man for the past 10 years alone, check that to 11. He just turned 12. 12 years alone, I thought I'd shed light on a few things that aren't discussed regarding the hell that we go through to ensure our sons and daughters aren't troubled, damaged, or have daddy/mommy issues. First, let me begin by saying there are two sides to every story. Just like the book of life, there is the law and there is the love. The perfect family dynamic consists of a two-parent household, one where there is a holy and righteous spiritual balance of love and law. The marriage between the use of healthy fear, aka order, and love, aka emotion, is what we call reverence. That is what we are supposed to have for God, reverence. And it is a beautiful thing when you have two parents in the home and one takes the lead on one role while one takes the lead on the other. Now, each one of us is created in love and law, so it is definitely in us to be both when necessary. In everything that we do, we lead with one and support with the other. But imagine the mental and emotional strain when you have a single parent who has to be the law, while at the same time wanting to be the love that rescues the child from the law that needs to be enforced by the only parent in the household in the first place. Confused? Let me paint a picture for you. While daddy is away at work using his hands, mind, and body to make sure the household is secure, stable, and financially provided for, mommy is at home using her heart, body, and soul, making sure the atmosphere is love and the children and husband are secure, stable, and spiritually provided for. Cooking the food, washing the dish, the clothes, teaching the principles of love, those are all highly foundational and more spiritual than you can ever imagine. Sometimes the children don't listen and mommy gets frustrated. Mommy constantly corrects and lectures and disciplines with love, but sometimes the children are just unruly or she can't get through. Sometimes the lack of intimidation that is natural and maternal is not enough because these kids know they mamas will rather love them than hurt them. So when daddy gets home, mommy snitches on the children. And daddy comes in and disciplines with the law to get things in order so that mommy can do her job. Then mommy can come in and give the love and make sure the children are okay because she still doesn't like to see her children hurt. One body, heart and hands, love and law. Now imagine if mommy had to do all of this with her one body. Do you know how crazy we look sometimes? I am loving on my son one minute and then switching up the next to bring the law, which means sometimes I have to fuss only to love on him the next minute because I don't like the hurt I caused him to have in the first place. I look like an unstable, narcissistic, crazy lady, especially if I'm battling my own demons with no human resources. We are tasked to not go crazy every single day. But what else are we going to do? Sometimes we purchase things that you may think aren't necessary because we are losing our minds, trying to make sure our children don't lose sight of our love, especially while we are working to provide financial stability and working to provide emotional stability. It isn't always easy. It really does take a village, not to judge, but to support, uplift, and encourage. We need some encouragement out here. We are praying, we are trying, we are crying, we are doing what we can. And although we can always do better, we are doing what we can do today. It gets exhausting. But from now on, if you don't have it in you to find solutions to what you think are problems, take your judgment to the mirror and learn to carry your own cross. It's that simple. We need prayer and support, not another person who is covering up their own issues by complaining about the way someone else is raising their child. If you see a problem, help. We need love too, because single parents out here making it happen. Teach love, boo boo. Okay.
Yes.
So I had to read that because I remember I remember a time when I went on a journey called Get Your Girl Back, right? I did not like that fact that I was not only raised, but I was shown, that black women, there is no we're not, our identity is not tied to vulnerability, right?
Mhm.
That superwoman syndrome, that fictional character superwoman is attached to us as black women. So growing up, vulnerability to me means being able to be breakable, but we don't want to be broken. And that's what keeps
Right.
happening time and time again. So we don't allow ourselves to be breakable. No.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to have this episode because I know that Lillia and I have something in common. Both of our sons, your baby was 11, right?
Yeah.
And my son was 11 when they both moved out and moved in with their fathers. And from a personal perspective, when it came from the women that looked like me, I was looked down upon. I was frowned on. I was judged. You gonna let your son go and live with his dad? And so when I knew that that was her story as well, I was like, you know what? It's time for a conversation because this is
Mhm.
absolutely ridiculous. If we're doing what's best for our children, why not have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So and why not make that decision? So I'm gonna shut up right now. I've given a great opening, and I want you to kind of share with us, the process and your thought process, your emotional, journey and everything when you made the decision to to not let, but come into agreement with your son moving in with his dad.
Um, well, honestly, for me, it wasn't as like the emotional side of it, like me missing my son was very hard, but the concept of like him going to live with his dad was not hard because I think a lot of times we ask for things, but we don't want them in the way that which they may come for us. So a lot of times as single moms, we ask for help and we ask for the weight to be lifted, but we want it in our way.
Mm,
And ultimately it's very hard to separate the woman and the mother, right? And so as a mother, like you said, you just kind of want to hoard I want to hoard my baby. That's mine. That's my child.
Mhm.
That's, I know I've been a custodial parent this long. I know what he likes to eat for dinner. I know how he likes to sleep. I know what to do when I know these things, right? And it's understanding like that child is also two people, right? He
Mhm.
has me and he has you. And so for 10 years, I was able to tap into those parts that are of me, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So like
Mhm.
the characteristics that may be of me, the struggles that you may deal with, it comes from my bloodline. Like those, I had the time and the space to like work on that with you. So when it was his time to go with his dad, that's where my mind was not about my feelings, but about my son, and understanding that, hey, just because you can do it alone don't mean you should. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it really ideally does take two parents to raise a child, right? It does take a child being able to know both of his parents. And I understand, like I have four baby daddies. So all my kids have different dads. So I understand that, and that was a struggle that I had too. Like, well, if this one goes with his dad, how is that going to make the other child feel,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
one thing that I try to remind myself is everyone is going to have their own journey, right? And I can't rob one child of this journey to try to protect another child, because it's like God might have a different journey for you, right?
Mhm.
So I have to make individual decisions based on each child. So ultimately it was me saying to myself, it's not about my feelings, it's about what's best for my child.
Right.
And you have to separate, like I said, like you separate the mom and the woman, you got to separate the man and the father. So
Woo!
there may be something that may be like, you know what, at the end of the day, me and this person don't always see eye to eye, right? Or maybe me and this person, because sometimes it's hard for me to admit that I've been the victim, but I've been the villain as well.
Mhm.
So understanding that says, sometimes, as I think as a single mom, like at the beginning, I would put myself on a pedestal, right? Because as a custodial parent, I really get to decide how much you see, right? And so you don't get to see me flip out on the kid because I'm stressed, or you don't get to see me forget school supplies, or oh, I forgot that this project. You don't get to see those things, but just because of the dynamic, when you fail, the child is automatically gonna tell me.
Mhm.
And so I'm sometimes as women, we can be a little more judgmental on them, just because they don't know what we're going through behind these closed doors, or they don't know our shortcomings, and we can make it look so good. But that's why being self-aware is important, because it allows you to have that little bit of like a reality check in your head
Right.
before
Right.
you judge them and say, well, he's not capable because I don't like his relationship with this girl. Okay, but you've also had bad relationships, but nobody's gonna come and tell you, because
Mm.
you keep picking the wrong man, nobody's gonna come and tell you you can't raise your child. You know what
Yes.
I mean? it's
Yes.
it's understanding that it goes both ways. You can't say, well, I don't like that you don't spend time, you don't take her nowhere when he go to you, but when the kid is in the house with you, he just in the room chilling on the phone anyway. So it's like
Mhm.
we don't being self-aware enough to know that, like, hey, either way, we're all trying. And as long as I know that we got the same goal in mind, which is what's best for the child, we can work through all that other stuff. So
Right.
it was
Right.
really a process of like, as long as you put the kid first, a lot of the things are very simple for me,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Girl,
Sorry, I
so
was
first of all,
rambling.
you gonna stop convicting me, okay? Because I'm a perfect mother. I don't know what you think. I don't know what you talk about. I did it right all the
Yeah,
time.
me too. I
Yeah.
am too. No, I definitely,
Don't
never,
you be
never.
convicting me. But no, what you said is so true, especially when you said as long as the child is what's most important. I'm gonna tell you right now, the only thing wrong with my son's daddy, the only thing wrong with my son's daddy is he ain't me. That's the only thing that's wrong with him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. If he was me, everything would be fine. But he ain't
Right.
me, right?
Yeah.
But at the same thing, the main thing that's right with him is that he ain't me.
Yeah.
He ain't me, right? So my son he just turned 12 2 days ago. Now you mentioned something when you said it ain't about my feelings, right? When my son's dad was really inconsistent majority of his life, and I already knew years ago that there was going to be a point in time where I was going to need him to take the reins, because just God gave me enough wisdom to know that when kids are little, they need teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need teachers, they need love, and they need education, right? And then when they get to a certain age, 10, 11, 12 years old, everything you taught them is going to be tested by the world, right? So now it's like the world is serving up a platter, like he did, like Satan did Eve. He gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
did your mama really say you shouldn't do that? Well, she only said that because if you do, you're gonna know what she know. And
Mm-hmm.
so then your children have an opportunity to make a decision to prove whether or not they really know right from wrong. But there is an important factor in regards to how they make that decision, and that is determined by whether they are a boy or a girl. And I knew I did not want my son making decisions, big decisions, the way I would, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be looking at stuff like, oh, or no, just forgive him. No, his daddy gonna be like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Last night my son, he's sick right now. I was on the phone like, hey, mommy's boot boot. His dad in the background. Boy, you ain't no baby. You ain't no baby. Don't
Yeah.
be a hater. I'm like, don't be a hater. That's my son from his mama, right? But
Right.
the truth of the matter is this, Lilia. If my son was still here, the only reason I can still say that's mommy's boot boot is because he ain't with me. In
Yeah.
February of this year, that's when I was like, oh, who is this child and what did he do with my sweet innocent baby? Where
Yeah.
did he go? Nobody was wrong. It was we didn't understand each other. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand him no more. He was coming into his role as a man, as a young
Yeah.
man. And I'm like, what happened to you? So the as a young man, I homeschool him third and fourth grade. Critical thinking, independent thinking is very important to me, right? So now my son is standing firm in what I taught him, but it's coming against my authority because
Yeah.
he was the same. So if he wasn't gone, he wouldn't be mommy's boot boot. He would be this up against that wall. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? 'Cause, who you think you and the thing about it too is I've been able to flip flop between masculine and feminine as it pertains to what role I need to play in that moment up until he was 11. But I learned quickly once he turned 11, I was gonna have to get in my masculine role and stay there. If he
Right.
didn't go to his dad, I wouldn't be able to go back to feminine no more. Right? It was,
Yeah.
I seen my mama break a broom on my brother's back, and I was like, yeah, did it take all that? But in her mind, I don't know what she was thinking. My brother's 6'5" and a half. When he was under her this way, she could take him and joke him around. Now he up
Yeah.
here. What do you do now with that? Right?
Yeah.
So when you said, and then you said something about your feelings. When my son moved, everybody kept saying when I was making the decision, how do you feel? And I kept saying my feelings don't matter. My feelings don't matter. Now they did. But at the time I kept saying my feelings don't matter because I knew um the logical part behind it. But we'll talk about emotional independence coming up, but that tested my emotional independence something serious because at the same time, my heart did matter. I just didn't understand at that time what that was like. So what I want to ask you this, what was the conversation that the initial conversation of, okay, it's time for him to come and live with me, or it's time for him to come and live with you? How did that start? How did that happen with y'all?
It wasn't a hard it was honestly a hey, he's gonna be starting middle school. It's time for him to come live with me, and I said okay. There
Girl.
was no it wasn't a lot of back and forth because like it wasn't, and it's our situations are a little different because it wasn't an instance where my son was he's sweet as pie. He nice as, like, we don't have no sometimes he get a little mouthy, but it's like, oh, we're a lot alike in our easygoing, low temperament personalities, right, in my mind. But he's also the one that I had to learn that because is such an easygoing kid and doesn't really rock the boat and wasn't giving much problems, I was parenting him with a little too much love, right?
Mhm.
And so if he had a stayed with me, I think I was doing him a disservice in certain areas because, like you said, there is a certain space where a man needs to have a certain type of authority about him, a certain type of a level of integrity, a certain type of, and those things may have been missed under my eye, right? Even when it comes to his grades, right? When he was with me, he had certain like C's and things, right? And I'd be like, oh, he's trying, you know. But with his dad, he has straight A's. And one thing that taught me is a child is going to live up to your expectation of them. So if I allowed him to believe that his those C's that he was getting was the best that he could get, because I applauded him and I met him there at those expectations. So that was one of the like hardest things is the reality check that you in my mind, I'm like, I'm the greatest mom. Like, me and my kid have a great relationship. But when he goes with his dad and I'm starting to see like his dad doing this tweaking, that's when my ego sets in. Like, well, he didn't do that, or this, or you know that, and I'm saying like, wow, that's all ego. He's actually, that's what co-parenting is, where I am weak, you pick up the slack. You are stronger in those areas. So we've always kind of had that, you know, that kind of understanding that our child is the most important thing. So even when we don't see eye to eye, I always know in my mind, like, he's going to protect my child. He's going to provide for our child. He's going to love on our child. He's going to discipline our child. So when he said, hey, he's going to be starting middle school, he wants to come live with me, it was never a question of like, no. You know, if anything, most of, like you said, the backlash came from other women, you know, from family, just like, why would you let him go live with his dad? Are you can't take care of him? Are you sick, or what you got? And I'm just like, no. It's like, you know, many women pray for an opportunity that you know what I'm saying, they
that we
can't,
have.
that we.
Yes.
So after I got over the small mom guilt of feeling like, you know, because like I said, I have other children. So there's that little piece of feeling like I don't want him to feel isolated, right? But also that's when God put into my heart, like, everyone gonna have their own journey. And everyone has, you know, that's part of my story. That's, you know, when you have different kids by different men, that comes with it. Right. And being real about that takes a lot of the unrealistic expectations off the table for me. So
Right.
I know separation from siblings comes when you have that. So if anything, that was the hardest thing, was just like separating him from the siblings at
Right.
the end of the day.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and let me just make sure I clear this up now, because I don't want my son ever come back looking at this like that. You had me looking bad. Because I'm gonna tell you right. Look, nobody else would be able, because my son, the head bumping, it literally was a head thing. Like, because
Yeah.
the thinking, the independent and critical thinking side of it, like, I don't agree with that, mama. And you taught me to tell you. So
Yeah.
it was always a mentor. But when it comes to, like, now I will say this. My son he had ISS with his daddy. And I called his daddy like, oh, so you Furious Styles now, right? Because he never get in trouble. Ever. When he was with me, I sent him up
Yeah.
there to do right. And the boy got getting ISS, you know what I'm saying? But I was just joking with him or whatever. But, you know, very, very well mannered. And you know, if anybody, girl, you talk about favorite child, and I be thinking, that's because y'all in his mama, you know, because he be challenging the sister at home. I get the real raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's a wonderful thing though. I love that we have such a different dynamic in our, not only our family style, but like with our parenting, because I've always been I had to go back to get my girl back so I could be the loving, nurturing, you know, all my nephews, they know they come to me for the love, hugging on them, kissing on them. And for me, when it did start to seem like I was the villain. It did, in all honesty and transparency, because I was confused. And at the time, you know, it took my son's dad a long time to get stable, very long. Even though I would have wanted him to be more stable before, because my son probably would have left at like 9, 10 years old had he been more stable, because I just knew that was he's going to need him in that area. But God's timing is so perfect that when my son did start really walking in the authority of thinking for himself, that his dad was just got stable in that place. The hard thing though was that he had moved 44 hours away to do it. Right?
Yeah.
3 hour time zone. And I'm just like, ain't no way. Like, how you expect me to AJ, do you want me to move with you? I can come get a place. My son was like, no, you can stay where you at. Thank you very much. But it got to the point where when we were having these misunderstandings, he's frustrated with me. And he's not being disrespectful to me, but in his phone, it's like he's telling his dad stuff like, she's talking about being a single mom is hard. Why she don't just let me leave? And then his dad is calling me like, look, you crying. First of all, I'm crying, so I'll knock your son out. I ain't crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm mad. Want to hurt the fella. But at that's when I was like, you know what? It's really time. God, I didn't know when the time was gonna be, but like you said, I prayed for this and I asked for this. And there are mothers, this is what this is about. There are mothers who have an opportunity to do this, but because of an unhealthy emotional connection to their, especially their boys, they will not let them go, right? You got men that really want to be involved, men that are really stable and ready to be that parent, ready to be that teacher, ready to be that guide. Like you said, we've struggled with the kid in the home, but we can make it look pretty, because we're there. They've been struggling, but they've been outside. We still been struggling, and battling demons. It's just that we got the kid, right? And so in that moment when he was like, he got it together, and then not only that, another thing that really helped me was he not only has custody of his son, he got custody of his daughter too. So my son is with his dad and his little sister, and it's just them three, So that really showed me, a different level of maturity. Even though I battle with things, I've always been on a journey of development to get myself together, and so that was very important for me. And when we did talk about him coming, to this day I'm still tripping off the fact that we talked about my son coming to Washington State. I went to the airport. I put my son on the plane. I'm still tripping. Like the other day, I was looking around my apartment, like my son really gone, like for real. And it's been since June, right?
Yeah.
June, But it was necessary. And his dad was even saying, you said he got an attitude with you. I need him to see what it's like when he get an attitude with me, because it ain't gonna be the same.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, don't you hurt my baby, right? But no, he need to go. He needs to go over there with his daddy so he can teach him how to make decisions like a man.
Yeah.
But I did have a he left the end of June. July, all of July I was depressed. Beginning of August I was depressed. I made mistakes. I had a panic attack, because I did dismiss my feelings as if, because I just knew it was right. I didn't really take care of my heart. So that was one of the hardest things that I went through. But what is, if there is, what is one of the hardest things you've gone through, or even if you are still dealing with certain things, what does that look like for you?
So for me, so like you said, I dealt with a little bit of resentment in a space because my son's dad also got his life together. He got married. He has a daughter. They live together, and so a part of me had a little bit of resentment, had a little bit of frustration with like, oh, he's going to be able to give my son something that I have not been able to give him. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be over there. And, my son looks just like his dad. My son is high yellow and his wife is like fair skin. So they all look like just a little cohesive little family.
Oh,
and
man.
There have been times at basketball games where they've mistaken his stepmom for his mom. You know what I mean? And so those little things that I have to just like, and that's why like I keep my ego like this, because
Right.
I know that if I let it loose a little bit, it starts to take my imagination places that aren't true. Like the ego's job is to lie to me.
Right.
It's to convince me that it's not what it is, basically. So what I do struggle with a lot is feeling like, when he goes at his dad's house, he has his own room, everything set up. When he comes here, he got to share a room with his brothers. They're a little more financially stable. So over here, they may go do things. And over here, I might be like, not this weekend because, we don't have it. So those are areas. And I think a lot of times that's what keeps women from letting their children go if the situation is going to be better. A lot of times you don't want to admit that, oh, over there it may be better. And that's why I said, when I thought about my son, it was easy for me to say you're going with your dad, because I know that even just the family structure that they have, even just his family, the things that his dad can expose him to, the things that he can teach him to, that I'm still working towards gaining. I can put my pride and ego to the side and say that. So that's one of the things, long story short, that I struggle with is sometimes feeling like inadequate as a mom compared
Mm-hmm.
to what his dad's been able to give him. But I also go back and I remind myself that it my son knows I love him, and our relationship is something that's priceless, and his relationship with his dad is priceless, and it's really not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win for both of us, for our son to be living a great life, to be exposed to certain things, to know what it feels like to grow up in a two-parent household, even if I'm not that second parent. You know what I mean? That was a hard thing for me to swallow. Like, I wanted to be the one to be married and him have a stepdaddy, not my son go and be with a stepmom. That's not
Mm-hmm.
what I was in my mind. That's not how I saw it happening. But God was like, that's why I don't put you in control. Like, that's
Right. Move.
you don't do you just ride the wave. I'm gonna decide how this is gonna go. So yeah, that was one of the hardest things. And then not being, like you said, the nurturer for my son. Whenever his dad is getting on him, I can't be the nurturer. If anything, I almost have to, from this space, affirm whatever his dad is saying, because
Right.
I have I've been with you for 10 plus years, 11 years. You lean on me a little bit more because it's just natural. So if
It's
dad
faith.
is
It's
getting
faith.
on
It's
you,
faith
it's
too.
exactly. So
Right.
if dad is getting on you, and then I'm like, oh baby, then, and that problem is a problem, because now I'm affirming your feelings versus being on your dad's side, when I know at the end of the day what your dad is saying is right, even if I
Right.
don't necessarily agree with the way in which he's handling it. So that's a hard struggle for me, to be like, well, your dad said if you did
Woo!
this was gonna happen, because I want to be like, he's not gonna be on punishment, okay? He's not, okay? He didn't mean it. You don't know him like that. And then the last hard thing for me was understanding that I don't know him like that no more either, because he's
Oh,
not my baby anymore that was just in my house. He's becoming a different person living with his dad. So I can no longer lean on the arrogance of, I know my son. No, I
right.
don't. I'm learning my son as he's evolving from this space. So knowing that his dad may know a little bit more about him, his daddy gonna find out that, he don't eat Cheeto Puffs no more. And I'm those are little things. It's like, like, I feel
Right.
entitled to those that information, that I struggle with that, honestly.
Girl, ooh, child, you getting on my nerves, you hear me? Because, ooh, girl, let me tell you something. My baby, when he moved with his dad, in Washington, and his dad was like, this is one of the most progressive states in the United States. The crime rate is low. It is the most beautiful state in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. Absolutely gorgeous. And like you said, like I'm used to, I got barriers on my health and everything. So like my son was doing a lot of stuff like taekwondo, taking horseback riding. He was doing everything: boxing lessons, dance lessons, drum lessons. He was doing it all here. And it's things that are local, but I want my baby to see the world, right? And
Yeah.
so when he went with his dad, and it's like a spiritual warfare, because like you said something that was so profound. The same reason why we should say yes is why we say no.
Yeah.
It's good over there. I don't want it to be good over there, because the good he got over there, I want to have over here.
Yes.
I'm gonna be selfish and keep him
Mm-hmm.
here until I'm able to give him that. But what if it's too late,
Yeah.
right? So he gets over there, and his daddy start sending me pictures of this middle school he's gonna be going to, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute, because whoa, no, that's not. We don't have those. We don't have those kind of middle schools down here where I live at.
Right. Yeah.
We got little raggedy urban. Lord forgive me, raggedy urban. Low income. And my son, one of the reasons I homeschool him is to teach him about the world, but now he gets to see it,
Yeah.
right? And his dad is big on being outside and doing things like this. And then when you mention not knowing your son, and oh girl, you stabbed me in the chest, child. Oh Lord, not knowing your child anymore. How dare you? Because
Yeah.
I was talking to my baby the other day, and out of nowhere, I said, "And you better stop cussing." He said, "Huh?" I said, "You better stop cussing." He busted out laughing. Nobody told me that, but I
Yeah.
know by the things he's being exposed to, he's getting older, and the Holy Spirit told me. He said, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." Right now, he don't know this. Don't tell nobody. But his daddy had mentioned to me he heard him cuss one time on the game because his dad before he moved, right? His dad was like, he cussed, right? He cussed, and I'm like, no, he did not. My baby did not cuss.
Right.
No, ain't no way, because he's sweet. He's my sweet, sweet baby. But he said his dad trying to make me feel better. He was defending you. Like he told the boy, don't say S else about my mama. And so then
Yeah.
a little bit, I was like, well, yeah, at least But you better quit cussing, okay? But when you said that, that is powerful. I want to talk about who child. You said something. First of all, my dad genuinely thought I had 6 months to live when I told him my son was moving. My dad genuinely thought I had a fatal illness and I was going to be out of here because
Right.
because of the inconsistency of my son's dad being where he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Right.
They hadn't been having the conversations. They hadn't been, and it was an instant thing. God did it, an instant thing.
Yeah.
Even I'm still blown away. When my son needed to go, his dad was instantly prepared for him to
Yeah.
come, right? And so good job and things like that. So my dad thought I had a fatal illness, but my dad was like, if this is what God is telling you to do, my dad is always supportive. He never forces himself or bullies us as a parent. He always is supportive and says, well, maybe you should double check or make sure that's what God, he's like, if God is telling you to do it and that's what's best for AJ, you got to do what's best for AJ. And I'm on the phone with my sister, they crying because we real close. And then God bless it. She probably will never see this, but if she do, I love your mama. But I gotta be honest. My mama, you gonna let your son? And I was like, the word let, it just does not sit well with me because he's not my property.
Yeah.
He's not my property. And obviously there is something that I lack that I could never, ever, ever get. I can't buy it. I can't borrow it. It's never gonna be a part of who I am. Right? Like you said, both parents need to raise the son because both of us made him. He is 2 people, really 3 in one, him, me, and his daddy. Right? So the part of him that needed to be educated and loved, I did that.
Yeah.
I did a good job with doing it. But now it's time for him to be a young man and make decisions. And I'm not, so yes, he's going where I'm in agreement. My son, I want to move my dad. And at first I thought it was just he just mad at me every day. It started coming every day, right? And every time he said it, it's like a knife in my heart. Like, I had to really check myself because I know I'm a good mom. God tell everybody right now, look, you can call me a lot of bad things, but you cannot call me a bad mother. But when my son started to respond to me in a way that made me feel like I was doing something wrong, it made me question myself as a parent. And I'm not supposed to do that because I did my job. Then his dad was like, look, he's saying he want to come. It's time. You know what I'm saying? It's time for him to come on. And then by the time I said yes, and it didn't take long. It didn't take long at all because I knew, even no matter how hard it was, I knew there are so many Black women who do not have this opportunity. Right? I'm not, like you said, I wanted to be married with a husband, right? I started back dating in 2020. Here it is, 2022. I'm still where he at. Okay. I done dated a lot of people. Where in the world? So, I'm trying to figure out why, God, because God, I know you want him to have a male figure. It's his daddy. It's his daddy. And so, but when he moved and I was telling women and then about it, it was a lot of slack. And that's one thing I want to place emphasis on. Why do we, as Black women, have a hard time really building and keeping the village of Black women, right? And I say that because the spiritually emotional support that we need, that we keep trying to get from everybody else, is supposed to come from me to you and from you to me. Right? But without healing and forgiveness and all that stuff. How can we do that for each other? So you would rather me choose to keep my son here where we both are clearly suffering from
Mhm.
confusion and misunderstanding, where my son can now, I live in the hood, his daddy don't. The little
Yeah.
boys outside telling my son, tell your mama to buy you a BB gun. I'm like, why you tell my son that? For protection, right? You know, his dad, and then and again, the most important part, him being a man, but also my son is part Guamanian, right? All this time, I tried to teach him a little Guamanian. I know how to say chicken in Guamanian and hello. But baby, I ain't Guamanian. And I do not. I asked my son one time, do you forget that you're Guamanian? He said, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
want him to do that because his identity is tied in two cultures, right? I want him to know what his other
Yeah.
culture is. His dad don't know either, girl. He black. He have Guamanian, but he don't know. But his grandma and them, okay? His daddy, mama, and all the rest of them, they can help him. And I need them to help him to be whole.
Yeah.
My son deserves to be whole. And if I have an opportunity for him to be whole, why wouldn't I take it? So when I got these, it was
Mhm.
several black women coming at me like, how dare you? Right. And these are women who I'm talking about ain't got no space and no place judging me parenting in a way that's going to give my son what's best for him, especially
Mhm.
when that's all I've ever done.
Right.
It hurt my feelings because I'm like, dang, as much work as I put in, as much as I've sacrificed, you gonna look down on me for making the decision that's best for my baby?
Yeah.
You know?
And see, those times, those honestly never hurt my feelings because I know how I felt. I'm 34 now. So 33, 32-year-old Lilia let her son go with no problem. 22-year-old Lilia never would have happened. It wouldn't have been the mindset. So I
Mhm.
understand that some everybody is not going to understand my decisions, and I'm not looking for it and understand. It doesn't. It's not. It's not. I don't need the understanding of it, and I understand. I can see two sides of it. That's why I said everyone can't separate their feelings from it. A lot of women parent from their pain. They parent from their experiences, and that's where they keep it. I parent from a space of my child will not my child will not be able to relate to my childhood at the
Right.
end of the day. Like we will
Amen.
have no relation in that space. So it's easy for me to um look at a situation and remove my feelings from it and say this is what's going to be best for the child. And I understand how another woman who may not have the opportunity
Right.
to let her child go live with the dad, so I understand how it's easy for her to say I would never do that. And this
Right.
is not even to be funny, but it's because the fact that I can triggers a certain thing there. They say that jealousy is actually wanting something that someone else has,
Right.
right? Sometimes that comes from a space of you want to but you're unable to, and that triggers you, so
Mhm.
you automatically tell someone else like, oh, don't do this. Or you may have your own reservations as to why maybe your child's father is not the safest person for your kid to be around or the best person to be around, and you're just projecting that on me.
Mhm.
Or like you said, maybe you've seen me and the dad go at it and being consistent, and you haven't been exposed to the healing that's
Right.
been done in that space, so you can't understand why I would let my son go with someone who I don't have a relationship with, right? Or I
Right.
don't like, or we haven't been able to come to us. So I think it's always important that, like, when we're parenting, we have to do what we know is right and not even be worried about. Even like my mom was one of the biggest people that was against it. Every time
My
I
mom
talked to
too.
her on
Yeah.
the
My
phone,
mom too.
every time I talked to her and I would mention, oh, he's leaving next month, it would be a whole blown out 45-minute conversation about how could I'm this, I'm that. And a lot of that was my mom projecting her fears on me because
Mhm.
we were separated a lot as kids, but it was for different reasons. And so I had to tell her, hey, we're living two different experiences. You've
Right.
never been in my shoes. You've
Right.
never went through what I went through. And that's a lot of times where people, just because you may have had a situation that was similar. You've never been in my shoes. And that's
Right.
what I be reminding myself. That person ain't never been through what I've been through. They've been through their own thing that may be similar, but at the end of the day, nobody walks through this with you. It's you and the dad and the kid. So
Mhm.
it, you know what I mean? It's those spaces of understanding. Like, people are gonna say what they want, but I'm doing what's best for my child at the end of
Right.
it. You
Right.
know.
And I'm one of those people that is very like I'm big. I'm a softie. Like I really
Mhm.
am a softie, but it's how can I explain? I don't listen to nobody. I don't do what nobody tell me to do. I do what I want to do. I always have. I've always gotten in trouble for that growing up. Being
Mhm.
I was always super rebellious to the authority of the world. Like you can't tell me what to do. And as a matter of fact, if you try to tell me what to do, I don't want to do what you said. Well, what do you want to do, Lana? I don't know, but I don't want to do what you said because you said it.
Right.
That's how I was, right? So
Yeah.
I've always been the mom that made what decision that's best for my child. When I took my son for homeschool, you know how much slack I got for that? Why would you take your son out of school? He's doing good. No, he's being limited, right? My son is getting the lesson on Monday, but can't get the next lesson till next Monday. Cause they got to spend a week on it. No, he gonna be homeschooled, and it propelled him in his intellect, right? So I've always, but with me, the hurt feelings come from I get sad when I look at my when I look at other black women and I see them operating like you said from a place of pain. That's what saddens me.
Yeah.
Right? That's what makes me sad because I have so many friends who actually come to me for wisdom or advice and things like that. Well, my daughter's going through this right now. If you were me, how would you talk to her about this thing? And I appreciate that because I love when we know we can't do it alone and we are humble enough to reach out to the village and get some assistance. But how many of us can really do that? How many of us can really be humble enough, to reach out to the village, but by not wanting to look like you said, ego, not wanting to look like we can't do it.
Right.
Right. And I remember when I had posted in that group, the one we met in the Black Single Moms group, and I put a screenshot. My son's dad basically said, I know you love AJ, that's your baby, but he's my baby too, and he's gonna be awesome. He was like, he said, I know you don't never ask, but I want you to use this time to do the things you need to do for you. First of all, again, the healing that took place immediately when it came to or not immediately, but came to fruition, the
Mhm.
harvest, because I knew he was working for my son. Also, I benefited from it also.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, I am able to take advantage of this time. It was hard in the beginning, you know, adjusting to when my son was in little elementary school, like first, second grade, I volunteered actively. Third and fourth grade, I homeschool him. Fifth grade, I worked in his school in the fifth grade hallway. He went to the Boys and Girls Club. I worked there too. We have literally never been separated. Okay, so you talking about breaking the taking the drumstick, the drumette from the flat. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Like, and that's a whole wing. Leave that wing, leave it a wing, right? But so I had to really deal with that in my own way. But that's the thing that saddens me is because we are in a place where our pride, black women, and I know people don't like saying black women, but oh well, it is what it is. Black women, we really do have to start holding ourselves accountable for our freedom, being
Mhm.
free enough to say, I'm going to surrender, to God. I'm going to submit to God or whatever higher power you believe in, child, because it's 2022. And I'm going to know that, this is what's best for my baby. I'm not going to be so emotionally have such an emotionally unhealthy connection to my child where I'm making my son the man of the house and
Mhm.
he got to go out and make money to do this and do that. It was to the point where I've been so self-aware of this, and I say this humbly, that even before my son's dad got it together, every activity my son did, I made sure there was a man in charge. Every single one.
Yeah.
Drum lessons, boxing lessons, dance lessons, taekwondo, everything he did, I made sure there was a man in charge. So that even if I told him they was all my husbands, girl, I told him all that. Y'all all my husbands. Here's our child. I'm dropping them off to you. Teach him what you teach him. I'll be back soon. And I'm paying child support in the form of the payment that it costs. Okay.
Right.
But it was all my husbands because I knew I made a vow that I would not push my femininity onto my baby. He is going to be a man. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I worked so hard to get my femininity back, and this may go over some heads, is because if I didn't get my femininity back and I act masculine, it'll give my son an opportunity to say it's okay for me to be feminine too. No, it ain't.
Yeah.
No, it ain't. You lead with masculinity. You support it with your feminine part.
Yeah.
I lead with femininity. I support that with my masculine because I lead with my emotions, but I gotta have order. I gotta have logic. You lead with your logic, but you gotta still do it with love, in love.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be a butthole. You know what I'm saying? And so it does make me sad that, in that moment when I expressed that, I think the confusion is really what threw me. Like, I don't know. I didn't expect them to understand, but I live unapologetically. And my sister always tells me that I need to, like, sometimes focus on like the corporate aspect of certain things and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
with my businesses and everything. But I tell her everything I do is so organic. I don't even really pay attention to it because that's my life. I
Right.
literally live life that way. So I don't know what my expectations were. I guess I just expect them to be like, okay, because I ain't never listened to y'all anyway. But I guess I just expect them to be like, okay,
Yeah.
mom, she was on the phone with me and my sisters, and when they mentioned it, and she was like, what? And one of my sisters was like, I thought she already knew. And I said I wasn't gonna tell her until I was sure about the decision. So, she's got upset. She said, first off, you joking, you lying. Yeah, right. Right. And then then it was, are you serious? You gonna and then I have to go. She's being super dramatic. I have to go, I can't, and it's just, I was like, well, I told her, this is what I said. My exact words were, I need for you to accept this now because this is what it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you're gonna be in your feelings, you're gonna be in them by yourself because this has to happen for him. I would feel like I am enslaving my child at this point if I don't give him freedom to be who he is and to be whole. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I want to ask you this, because I just love how you say he was so sweet. He's so sweet and everything. Your baby so sweet. Oh, did you have like did it really become a test to your emotional independence with your baby, or?
Yes, because he's the one. I don't have. I have, like I said, I have 4 children. I don't have a favorite, but he's the one that I feel closest to, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I always feel bad saying that, but it's not that. I have a great relationship with every single one of my children. Like I love them. We have a thing, but me and him are a lot alike. So a
Mhm.
lot of our hanging out is very organic. It's very natural. We like a lot of the same things. We spend a lot of the when he was here, he's the one that's gonna come in the morning. He goes, good morning, mom, give you a kiss. He's the one that's gonna check on you throughout the day. He's the one that's gonna laugh at jokes with you. He's the one that'll get up and do silly dances with you.
Oh.
Our personalities are a lot alike. So when he left, I will say the house got a little quieter. It became a little, so it was an adjustment for everybody, honestly. But when it came to like my emotional independence, I don't think it tested mine, but it tested his in a way of, which then tested mine, because I
Mhm.
had to when he was worried or he was like missing home, I had to like affirm him in those moments, like, you're good, you're okay, even though in my mind I'm just like, I just want you to come home, like I
Mhm.
just want you to come back. So that was probably like a test of my emotional independence, was not so much me having an issue being away from him, but more so me being worried, like, how is he gonna be okay, like when he has a bad day at school, how's he, this is how I do it over here. I like, we sit down and we talk about it, but men aren't always like that.
Mhm.
So it was me having to be like, oh man, there's a difference. And me having to say, well, that's the way it's going to be done now. And, being okay with that. So I think it tested that part of me for sure. But yeah, I think emotionally, I honestly feel like I was, I did the month he left, I cried a lot. Like, a lot over every little thing. I'd be on the phone with him and I would just start crying. And the thing is, so his dad is from DC and he was going to move to DC when we first had this thing, but they ended up staying in Texas so that he can transition better. But so like next year he's supposed to be moving. I get anxiety just thinking about it. Like
Oh,
you go from being 45, 50 minutes away to now you about to be 23 hours. You know,
woo.
so that's a whole nother level of transitioning that's about to happen. And so I'm already preparing my mind to understand like that's a phase that goes to it. And then that's when I get more kickback. Well, you gonna let him go all the way to DC? And it goes back into that. I tell myself what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Is that how I go? You know
Yeah,
that
I don't know
little
what I mean really, but yeah.
but you know how I go. And I tell myself if I wanted to move out of the state, I will move out the state
And
without you.
nobody would have nothing to say.
Nobody will say nothing.
Nope,
Nobody will ever say you gonna take that baby away from his daddy.
not now.
You gonna
So
take and the reason why I have this viewpoint of men, a lot of women or I get you know mess about it, but my thing is I'm raising sons.
listen, girl,
Like
listen. I because of my baby, I ain't gonna cut you off. I just want to say this one thing.
yeah,
And I know I probably because I didn't have an opportunity to really focus on that before. I love black men and I have a heart for black men and what
yeah,
they go through because I have a black son. Are you
yeah,
kidding me? Okay, Carrie, I'm
yeah.
gonna cut you off,
And
girl.
no, and that's it. It's me understanding like I am raising I have black sons. How can I? And women don't understand that. I always ask that when you have this distaste or you have this anger or resentment towards black men, how do you not feel that that seeps at some point into your son? Like how do you
Mm,
respond to your son when he starts to demonstrate those traits of his dad that you can't stand? You know,
mm,
he eat like his daddy, he walk like his dad. He's going to get to the stage where he may start making decisions like his dad, right? How are you going to respond? Because he's not so, you know, and that's where I think a lot of men it creates those mommy issues because they go their whole life with mommy babying them because
yeah.
they're mommy's baby, and then they become men and they realize my mama hate men
Or
just the
highlight
same
or we highlight the parts of them that are us.
us.
We
Yes.
highlight them and we reward and honor, the parts
Mhm.
that are us, but we either neglect, abandon, or make it a problem when you display the characteristics of the person I don't like.
Correct. And understanding that is like, you know, you'll do damage to your child, and that's when we earlier you talked about like I think this was before the live, but you talked about intention, and
Mhm.
like sometimes we miss being intentional with our child, and by intention I mean like looking at the bigger picture and not just looking at oh this week my 12-year-old you have to and this is one thing that I learned from my son living with his dad. I can't just parent you like you're 12 or 6 or 8. At
Mhm.
some point you're going to be a grown man out in
Right.
society, and so with that understanding I know like it's bigger than my feelings. It's bigger than the child's feelings. It takes the village. You know what I mean? So if the opportunity is there, I'm all for taking it. I said I'm trying to convince my other kids that it's like let's go on and just get everybody, and then it just be me and my daughter. He just go.
What is that name? Is it Momo?
Yeah, Mama. Now,
I can look
Mama,
at Momo. Momo
the
famous.
girls stay with me.
Oh yeah, and I'm in agreement with that. I'm in agreement with that.
She stay with me.
Oh, I have friends, and another thing, like I'm telling you, like I have guy friends who this okay. I wasn't even. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I didn't even think about this before because I really wanted to highlight, the Black women accountable part, and the response that we got from. I didn't even know until you said that your mom was almost where my mom was. I didn't know that until you mentioned that, but the response that we got from, some of the Black women in our lives and stuff, and but my Black male friends, so much respect, of course,
Yeah,
right? So much respect for you seeing that they need, and I'm talking about intelligent, um rational, Black men, right?
yeah,
And I won't say his name, but I have a friend. He is you know, he's going through something right now. His son is almost 15, and they live in different states, and he's having some issues with. I thought my phone would do not disturb too, girl. I guess I didn't. I don't know how to do it, but you know, they've been having some issues, some struggles with the distance, and you know, miscommunication, and you know, he and the mom don't have the healthiest relationship or communication. And so for a long time, years, I was always wondering, why his son don't just come and live with him, right? I
Mhm.
don't get it. But that's what he wants. He wants that so bad. And
Yeah.
it you know how it breaks my heart knowing that this man makes over six figures, right? He loves his son. Yes, again, he still has some healing to do. I call him, be like, "You been going to therapy?" No, I ain't been in 2 months. Okay, I ain't been in like a year. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
he's stable enough and healthy enough to maintain raising his son the way that he should, you
Yeah.
know. And then he also has an opportunity to expose his son to things he will never get from his mom. But he just, in this world, he does not have the upper hand. And it
Yeah.
really makes me sad. And then people say, well, why don't you fight? The fight is going to look like this. His son is already being highly influenced. And this goes for a lot of situations. I'll tell anybody right now, I had so much power when it came down to the way my son viewed his father.
Oh,
But
for
I never
sure.
allowed my son to hate his daddy. He wasn't allowed to, he had to forgive him. We would pray for him, because if you're going to give him, give me grace and forgive me, you're going to do the same thing for your daddy.
For
Right.
sure.
But the reason was because I'm not going to let that cancer grow inside my baby.
Yeah.
Ain't no way in the world I'm finna let my son hate nobody. Because if I only made it about his daddy, that means that's because of how I feel about his daddy.
Right.
Nobody. He wasn't allowed to hate nobody, harbor hate for nobody. And I know everybody might not agree. Oh well, you know, because I understand that, but it's eating your kid up.
Yeah.
It's eating your kid up, and that's the reason why my son is able now to still think his dad is the coolest person in the world. I never let him stop thinking his dad was the coolest person in the world, right?
Yeah.
But he just, for that fight to happen, he's already being influenced by his mom. That, you know, your daddy might not be the best. Then if you go court or whatever, that's going, man. Do you know how that's? He don't want to take his son through that.
Yeah.
He didn't want to take his son through that. And I'm telling him, the decision that you make is going to either make your son hate you more now, but then appreciate you later, or you do what you can now. He doesn't really understand. The same way I did what I did for my son's father, you gotta do the same thing for his. You could make his mama be accountable. You could do that, right? There's court orders and things, but women, they be like, I don't want to hear no man say. There are some men out there that really want that, but when they look
Hmm.
at how much mess it's gonna be, how much they're gonna be dragging their child through the mud, they rather not do all that,
Yeah.
you know. And so my heart really, really breaks for men. What would you say in a from a place of awareness, you know, grace or whatever? What would you say to the women who are really holding their sons as pawns? Or yeah, I'm gonna say sons, the black women that holding their sons as pawns, so that they just don't lose control.
Um, I mean, I guess the best advice would honestly be to get somewhere and assess the situation and really ask yourself, is it about the child or is it about your feelings? And then honestly, in that moment, decide what, you know what I mean, like what you're going to do. If you know that in your mind, okay, when I really look about it and I take all the extra off of it, this has nothing to do with the child. You
Mhm.
know, this is not about he's gonna mistreat the child or he gonna, like, really take inventory of that. But the hardest part is it a lot of times it's the world validates that. You know what I mean? Like the world, like you said, does not condemn women. People can get on podcasts and talk about it all day long, but when someone talks about their mom, like they're almost shunned. Like
Right,
like, why are you talking about your mama? Like that's your mama.
right. That's your mama, right?
But if someone says something about the dad, it's not that same type of
Nope, nope. It's
thing.
agreement. People are in agreement with it.
So I always say, hey, if this was your son, how would you want somebody treating your child? Like if
Mhm.
your child was the baby's daddy, how do you want somebody treating your child?
Right,
Because
right.
what if at some point the cycle repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets into a situation with the woman that it doesn't work out with, and then the woman treats him the same exact way you're treating the dad. How is that going to sit right with your spirit? Because it goes both, like, and that's what keeps me, like, that's why I said I can't hate black men. I'm raising black sons.
Right.
I can't believe that black men should be punished and paid because I'm raising black sons. That would be
Right.
me including them.
Right.
So it's, hey, yes, I think dad should be held accountable. And is it always ideal that sometimes, like I said, they get to take their time, get it together, and then they can come jump in the game? It doesn't matter, like, when it happens. I mean, and I get it, because that's one of the reasons why, like, when it came to that black single mom group, I would get it. I would sound like a pick me all the time, because they would say, well, he ain't been here for 10 years, and all of a sudden he coming around and want to be in my baby's life. My thing is, let him.
Exactly.
You know, like, okay, 10 years passed, great. Let him, you know, even if it was you. So it's that space of, like, it's hard to try to get through to people who first they have to find fault in what it is that they're doing. But as long as in their mind they're justified in what they're doing, the reasoning, that's what you have to look at. Like, what is the reason really that
behind this decision
you don't let your child see the father?
Right.
I mean, past we can't. You ain't gonna never be able to get a child to live with him. A lot of times they don't even let the child see the dad. So if you start asking, what is the reason? Like, ask yourself to write down. I would ask you to write down on paper, why can't my child go with his dad? And, like, literally write it down. Because his house is dirty. Because he forgot he was late to daycare at one time. Because I don't like Keisha.
Because he don't give me no money.
Because he don't give me any money, right? And then I want you to go and line up next to him, and I want you to say, this month I had to ask my mom for $100 because I couldn't. Then I want you to say, me and Darnell broke up, and I got back with him, and we broke up again, and I got back with him. And then I want you to say, oh my God, these clothes have been sitting on this couch for 3 weeks. I have not folded these clothes up. And you'll start to see that there's not many differences. And if you look at him like you want somebody to look at you as someone who's genuinely trying, even when you have shortcomings,
right?
You can. It don't make it that hard to say, you know what, you just as equally worthy of being a parent as I am. But again, you have to assess that, because as a mother, you know, some dads should not be what they can.
Right? No,
you can't. Yeah. But a lot of times it'd be more so your pride, ego, feelings, and then outsiders. Yeah. Like, if you would have listened to someone saying, well, you know, he ain't stable, but it's like, no, you don't know. And I'm not, you know what I mean? You don't know where he's come from or what he got going on now. Right. You know.
I'm looking on Facebook, and I'm gonna go through some of the comments, because I am horrible at that. Y'all am terrible. Listen. I used to say charge my head, not my heart, but I tell folks don't charge me at all now, because it ain't my fault. Let me see. I know that. Let me see. Hey, Janine, that's my cousin. Trina, hey girl. A few people, I think when I shared this, look at God, all these ladies. Hey y'all. Donella coming. That's Peaches. Hey Peaches. She says some women are just bitter towards the father off the strength of them not being together. Yes. And that is so true. That's why when you said make this list, and it says, you know, they broke up. Well, you did this, you broke up with him, got back together, broke up, got back together, you know, and honestly, for that, those are some things that I have to consider myself. Like I told you, the only thing wrong with my son, daddy, is he and me. That's it. Yeah. You know, when my son first started going there, we didn't eat land animals, fish, meat. What you eat today? McDonald's? I'm cringing every time. What you eat? Chicken nuggets and French fries at McDonald's? Oh, Lord Jesus. Yeah. You know, I text my son that, hey, you promised he was gonna go to church. He ain't been to church not one time since he been there since June. Now he cussing and getting thrown up at school. Take my baby to church, you know, but at the end of the day, excuse me, he loves him. Yeah. He loves my baby. He was gonna protect him. You know, he's doing the best he can, like I did the best I could. And I have to respect him for even saying, hey, I want him to come and live with me. I want to take on, he said, it's my turn. I want to take on this responsibility. Not to mention when he said, you go do your thing. It's time for you to have your own time, do your own thing. And then my son does have a sister. He has
Yeah.
a sister, and I love the fact that he can spend time with her and he can be a big brother to her,
Yeah.
right? Because imagine them being 44 hours apart, seeing each other what every other holiday, and then by the time they get older, their relationship ain't even really like that because they don't
Yeah.
really, fool with each other. But she getting on his nerves every day. It's a beautiful thing, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Every day. Um, and so I'm happy with that. And I love when you said about right. I love what you said about write down why not, and then write down why. Now, honestly, back in the day, mine would have said he ain't got nowhere to live. I mean, what else am I going?
No, and that's a legitimate
You know
reason.
that, but we're talking about the women that have the opportunity,
Yeah.
that can do it. And one thing that you made me think about when you said he ain't been around for 10 years and now he want to see the baby or have the baby, that made me think about how as black women a lot of times, you know, why you don't never cut the grass? Every time I turn around, I gotta, why you don't ever say, then he start doing it. Why you want to start doing it now? You ain't been doing it. Like, what do you really want?
Right.
What is it that you really want from me? Or is it just me that's the problem?
And that's a lot of times what it is, and because and this is like the craziest thing that is wild to me is because it's like I've seen women, a man, you can date a man and then y'all not, and then you can reconnect 10 years later and you'll be in love and you'll marry him. You forgive him for everything went down back then. But that's why I said if you make it about the kid, it's not that hard.
Right.
Because the kid wants a relationship with their dad. And I think it was Will Smith that said it, and you also said it. We hold a lot of power to facilitate these relationships.
Yes,
So
Lord.
I never talked bad, like I never talk bad about my kids' dads to them. I
Mm,
never because homegirls, you got to with your homegirl. I ain't gonna act like
yeah.
I ain't never
And I
said
cu-
that.
and I cussed him out a couple times to his face
So,
too. So,
but to my child, I
but
never.
no.
Whenever he come in the room, I'm not arguing with you in front of our child. Like we
Right.
having everything's great because I know that I can plant a seed. I can
Yep.
determine how this
Absolutely.
goes. I can
Yep.
determine, normally when they little and the child cries when they got to go with daddy, it's two ways you can handle that. You could be like, well, what did you do to them? What did you, or you just affirm them. You good, girl. You finna, or boy, you finna go have fun with your dad. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's those little things. So when the child is 6 and you like, well, he don't want a relationship with you anyway. It's like, yeah, because you've told the child that daddy's not safe. You've shown the
Right.
child that daddy is not a good person. That you've set this standard. So no, the child is not excited. Or not only that, but common sense will tell you if this child has not been around this person, of course they're not going to be comfortable.
Right.
But because you are a parent, you understand the importance of the other parent. I do feel a certain obligation to facilitate that relationship to
Right.
make sure that I can leave a space open. I'm not going to allow my child to, if a dad is inactive, I'm not going to allow my child to wallow on that or allow it to cause them to feel like they're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want them to understand, like you said, what forgiveness and grace is. And outside of being a mom or a dad, we're humans with
Right.
our own battles, our own issues, our own problems. You know what I mean? And it's not until you become a parent that you start to kind of be like, oh, okay, maybe I could have gave my mama a little more grace when she went through this.
Girl,
Or,
I told my mama that. I'm sorry, girl. Cause oops. Cause
like,
labels I talked about this with my friend today. Labels come with expectations, and as children,
right.
we're selfish because of the label. You don't really think about it. Another thing I want to highlight is when you said parent, we keep saying the word parent. I used to always tell my son's dad, parent is a noun and a verb, bruh. It's a noun
Mm-hmm.
and a verb. You are the parent, but you need to parent is an active thing. You have to do that and
Yeah.
take it into consideration. But like you said, they don't I don't think some people really understand, like, women, uh the spiritual power that we have over the men and the children, over
Mm-hmm.
the men and the children. The reason we bump heads with each other is because you ain't finna use your spiritual power to try to control me, sister. Right?
Right.
So we bump heads instead of working together. No, ma'am. But I'm gonna use my spiritual power to with these men and these children. There, you are the connection between the men and the children. You're
Mm-hmm.
in the middle. So you have the power, like even got to the point where My son started getting older, and he started to see things for himself, like some inconsistencies and things. So, and I hope my son daddy don't see this, but he would make statements like my daddy told me such and such and such. But I already know he probably go, I ain't even tripping on it though. Because at one point in his life, I started teaching him to like the it is what it is type, like take things for what it is. It's not him, and it's not about you. It's what it is. I taught him about mental illness. I told him when he got a little bit older and I started sharing these things. I also let him know that there were times when I was what's the word? I was not present, but I was there, but I wasn't present. When I was on pain pills, I would tell him there are things that I would have done differently as a mom, even though it looked like I was doing the bare minimum, or I was still loving on you because I was functioning like you couldn't even tell, like I was doing, but like spiritually and mentally, and there could have been more. I was going through stuff too, but you didn't see it. You didn't know that I was going through these things. And again, you showed me grace and forgiveness and stuff. So I'm still like that with him now. You know what I mean? Like you still gonna, because it's not about his dad, it's about his heart and his health and everything, and him having a loving spirit. But it got to the point where my son would be, I'm like, look, I know he said he was coming, he didn't come, or I know he was gonna call, he didn't call. Or even I help my son be accountable too. Once you get a certain age, and I know people say, why should the child do the calling? He's a child. What if this child, my son saved my life? Why wouldn't I let him save his daddy's life too?
Yeah.
If his dad is not calling him and it's an opportunity for him to pick, I said, well, it just don't make sense to me. And we go through this a lot. Well, I ain't finna call her because she ain't calling me. Do you want to call her? She'll never call me. Do you want to talk to her? But she'll never call. But do you want to give her number? You want to talk to her? Call
her. Yeah.
So my son, I would be like, well, baby, you can call him. Right? Well, mommy, he can call me in 3 days. You should probably call and find out why he didn't call you in 3 days.
Yeah.
Call him. And his dad will say things like, well, you ain't called me neither. And I ain't gonna lie. I was in the back. Well, that don't make no sense. You the parent. I still would tell my son to call, but I still didn't get his father's, but that's logic.
Yeah.
That's a man. They think with logic, not with emotion. Logic. In his mind, look, you got a phone, boy. You know what I'm saying? I got a phone, you got a phone. If I don't call and you want to talk to me, call me. Right? But again, my ego, and I would never let my son go a day without me ringing his line to let him know that mommy's thinking about you, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it ain't the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So child, you gonna make me, girl, that whole write down, you know what I'm saying? You broke up with Keisha, but you broke up with Donnell 30 times. You ain't got no money or give me no money, but you just had to borrow money from your mama. Your house dirty, but you ain't doing the laundry. That is so big.
It'll help you see that you're like, again, remove the ego. That's the best advice. Like, remove the ego, remove the pride, and look at facts. Combat what you feel with what is real. You saying he's not a good dad? What is the evidence that proves that? Because he was absent for a year. It's like, I mean, it's something as simple as you may meet a man when your son is 12 years old. You're going to let this stranger come in after you've been with him for 2 years, and you're going to marry him, and then he can raise your child for the rest. So why can't a kid's dad struggle for 10 years and then come in and say, I'm ready to be a dad and I'm ready to be there, and not be given a choice? Because you're going to do that with your husband that's going to come in and raise your child.
Right.
It's the same concept. It's and don't get me wrong, it's different. It's not the same. But a lot of times you got to remember, the man hurt you. He did not hurt his child.
Right.
And cheating on you, and even as horrible as it sounds, physical abuse, those things, if that was y'all's story. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen to the child, right?
Right.
And growth can happen. People do change. And so that's why I said, write it down.
And people heal.
And then you'll ask yourself, is this still true? Because you might not talk to somebody for 10 plus years, or 5 years, or 3 years, or 6 months, and say, well, he used to do this, he used to do that. Ask yourself, are these things do they still hold true? Right. Like you said, he did used to struggle with finances, but now he has a good job. He lives in a great area. He can take my son to a great school.
Right.
So if you would have held on to what he used to do and what he did, that, you know what I mean, that would have been a missed opportunity. So
Right.
like literally write it down on a paper. My son cannot go to his dad's house this weekend because write it down.
And that's
Write
just
it
talking
down.
about visiting. You know, we ain't even going as far
Yeah, just
as
visit it.
because I know some that will not, baby. They will not.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I made friends with a lady on Facebook from the Black Single Moms group. She added me on Facebook because she said I was the only one that was speaking to her from a place of grace and logic. But I was letting her have it, you know. But I do have a gift of grace. I know that. But she was saying that the man want to see the baby. She tell him to come to her house, right? The baby 5 months old. But she don't want him to come to her house. He don't want to come to her house, but she don't want him going to but he said, let me see the baby at my mama house. She don't want to do that either. So I'm like, well, you don't trust his mama? She said, I trust his mama more than I trust him. So if you trust his mama, why won't you let him go to his mama house? She's like, we can all be there. I said, why you gotta be there?
Yeah.
Why you gotta be there? Why I can't be the man and the mama? Right? Then she starts talking about he want to get the baby at a certain time and they got a family trip. I said, your baby 5 months old. But the baby don't even need to go on the trip. What the baby
No,
care about the
yeah.
trip? You know, it's all these things that come into play that just don't make any sense. And it's fun, it's crazy because we complain about all these problems, but then when there's that's how you know you bitter and you unhealed. Because you complain about these problems, but then when you get solutions, you don't want to hear that either.
Yeah, because it don't sound like solutions to
No,
when you in that space. It doesn't
no.
sound like a solution to a problem. And a lot of times it's not a problem. You know what I mean? It's a warped
Yeah,
mentality. And again, it's parenting from a place of pain.
a
So
pain.
the first thing is you can't even attach the mind frame to me until you fix the heart. Like your mind is not going to your mind gonna do like these
Yeah,
two be in alignment a lot of times. So as long as your heart is like I'm so angry for this person, it's gonna be hard to like get your mind on the same, but it's gonna be hard to see this person as something other. And I always tell myself, hey, at the end of the day, it's like if somebody says something about my mama, I'm gonna be ready to. Yeah, I don't like it. So it's like when you have a distaste for your child's other parent, it's that same energy. All your child
right.
know is you really beefing with the person I love the most next to you. Like,
Come
how do
on.
I respond to that? What am I supposed to say in that space? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But again, it really is one of those hard it is one of those hard spaces, and it just really takes conversations like this to open people up to different perspectives and
Yeah,
have it be done in love and really in a because I can understand, you know,
I
it's
can.
I
Yeah,
have no judgment. I understand
yeah,
because again, 22-year-old Lillian, then that was my child. I understand the not the territorial part of being the mom. Like, I'm the custodial parent, I'm in control, I'm this. And when you do say the kid is going with the other parent, you're relinquishing a certain level of control, and that comes with a whole lot of other things.
a lot. Yeah.
But it's really assessing if that's what's best for the kid at the end of the day.
Because I'll tell you right now, I was the mom, like, why every time he come visit, he with your mama the whole time? You don't even, you know what I'm saying? Why every time, again, years ago, before choosing, and that's what, like, again, I'm gonna reiterate, that's what accountable Black woman is about: choosing your healing, choosing your own freedom. It's not about pointing the finger at nobody or blaming nobody, because my heart goes out to unhealed Black women. My heart, the barriers that are put in place that are stopping us from really winning, really winning. And I want to see Black women win, but we don't want to admit the truth, that we are sometimes the one that are standing in our own way, but it really does take a certain level of maturity, of growth. But again, accountability is a choice. It's a
Yeah.
choice. You got to sit down and, like you said, assess that thing. As parenting from a place of pain, or even from experience. Because I always tell people, your experience, your expectations are only going to be as big as your experience. You're not even going to know there's more out there, or you have more options than what you've seen. But once you start to grow, God is going to show you that there's more. And that your baby when you said, you know, how my baby gonna respond when I'm beefing with the other person they love the most, that is so big because you know, I see it, yeah, girl, it really does do something to me when I see parents and stuff go at it in front of their kids. Like, you know what that does to a child? Like, you think automatically your child is going to pick you automatically because you his mom, right? But I mean, what does a child do when they are looking left and right and they're trying to figure out this battle y'all got going on? Where do I go and what do I do? You
Right.
know, and so I'm not gonna keep you up here all night because girl, I can for real, this is big, and I hope my hope is that you know other women can look at this situation, and if there is a possibility, pride is a hell of a drug, and I when I say that, pride is something serious,
Hmm.
okay?
Yeah.
Like talking about it's a big deal. And somebody said, what do you tell the woman that continues to carry hurt and bitterness? That's all you.
Um.
Well, I can I say real quick,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
put it down, but go ahead, it's on you.
No, you said go ahead. You say you're
I
gonna what?
know. Yeah, put it down. What do you tell the woman that continues to carry
Oh,
her and put it down?
yeah. And honestly, put it down day by day.
Right. Step
Like
by
it
step
didn't
too.
it didn't it you didn't become bitter overnight. Like
Okay,
this
you're
is
not
not
gonna do that.
something, this was like it took time and time again, and a lot of that bitterness comes from like a certain like resentment within yourself, whether it's you feel like you allowed somebody to like make you feel this way, or you feel like you're missing out on something because of this person and all of that.
Or like you're gonna lose. Like
Yes, like you lost, you
yeah.
know what I mean, like you're bitter for something. But if you really understand that everything like works out for your good at the end of the day, like truly it, but as long as you have this bitterness, like you can't even allow yourself to get over the situation by holding on to the bitterness because it still feels so fresh. Like bitterness makes it like here, that's why when you see that person you automatically can get mad again, because bitterness keeps like it's replaying whatever it is that you are bitter about. It keeps replaying why this person did me this way, this person did me dirty. It doesn't allow you to grow, and it doesn't allow the other person to grow.
Right.
So when you under like you really, again, I'm all about writing things down. Like write down what you are bitter about. Like literally write, I'm bitter because this person cheated on me. I'm bitter because I gave my all to this person and put my energy into them and they left me and I had to start over. I'm bitter because I let myself go in this relationship. A lot of times the bitterness may not be towards that other person. A lot of times that bitterness may be towards yourself, and
Right.
you're just pinning it on the other person. But if you really focus inward and really focus on being the best like you, and I know that sounds so cliche, but each day, like taking the time to work on whatever it is that you write down you're bitter about, right? It will literally start to lift off of you little by little by little. And as long as you understand that it's going to be a journey, like you can prepare your mind for that. So you may wake up bitter Tuesday, and then tomorrow you may feel great, and then you might be right back bitter. But when you start to, again, that's why I say compare what you feel to what is real.
Mm-hmm.
And this is gonna be the hard truth. Recognize where you're the poison in your own life. Like really assess where you're poisoning yourself, whether it's in your thought process, your decision making, all of those things, and how that is affirming your bitterness. Because I said the other day, like the enemy's job is to take whatever it is you're struggling with, whatever insecurity, whatever problem, whatever bitterness you have, and maximize it, make it bigger than what it is. So if you just got out of a breakup, he wants you to feel like you ain't never gonna find a man, you're gonna be single for the rest of your life. If you struggling with your weight, you ain't never gonna get in shape. If you lose your job, you ain't never gonna have no money, you're gonna be homeless. That's his job. So really having mental strength to combat those feelings is how you're gonna overcome that, honestly.
And y'all heard her. So look, one thing that you said, what I heard was also was assessing what made you bitter or why you're bitter, but also assess why you still choose to be bitter.
Correct. Yes.
Because you know, why don't you like when I said you don't want to feel like you lost? right? But you the only one that's still in the ring. Half the time,
Exactly.
the other person that tapped out, right? They
Yeah.
got other fights. They doing other things. They got bigger fish to fry. What you got
Mhm.
going on with them is probably small.
Yeah.
To them, it's small, but it's still big to you because again, you still holding on to it. That's where your triggers come in. You know what I'm saying? And so, assessing why you still choose to hold on to the bitterness,
Yes.
you don't want to feel like I don't know if we sometimes feel like if we still hold on to it, somehow, some way, it makes them less happy. They ain't even thinking about you.
Right. At all.
They sleeping
And
good at night.
sometimes
And
that's the hard
you
realization.
taking melatonin and they fall asleep normal. Like, come on
Fine.
now.
Fine. And that's the
I
hard
take
part.
it sometimes myself, but that look, girl, I'm goofy. Um, so we can talk about this all night. And when I tell y'all, I promise y'all, you see how she's so profound and so wise, ain't she, y'all?
You
That's why I
making this
needed her
voice
because
hard.
her son's been gone for what, over a year, right?
Yeah, we on our second year now. Yeah.
Second year. My son just moved out in June. I needed this. I needed her to take my heart out, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, because even though I know that I'm in a good place because it didn't hurt me to the thought of my son leaving, and the mental aspect didn't bother me because
Mhm.
I know that's what's best. It was the hard part that was hard,
Yeah.
and like you said, when I asked about emotional independence, the same way our sons are growing with logical independence, with independent thinking because they're not with us no more,
Yes.
right? So again, I'm worried, like, when he FaceTime me laying down last night, and my head hurt, my stomach, and I'm thinking, did your daddy come in there and hug on you? Did he come in there and love on you?
Exactly.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Did he do the things that I would? Did he know? But I understand his dad is gonna teach him that independence, that logic, that logic, and that independence. And I know his love is gonna be man love. It's not gonna be my love. It's not gonna look like mine. But do you have anything? I think you probably just said the last thing. Anything else that you would want to say before we close out this? She will be back, y'all, because she's so wise.
No, just honestly give yourself grace. You doing the best you can where you at, but when you know more, you do better. So surround yourself with women that are in situations like that you would like to be in. If you look around and all your homegirls is affirming the whole we not going we have drama with our baby, they just get yourself around women who are saying, hey, yeah, we've had problems, but we're gonna work through them. We trying to figure it out. Get yourself around people who are moving in the headspace that you desire to be in, and make that list. Make those lists. Whether it's the list on why the child can't go, even if you feel fully justified, just write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down, close it up, wait a week, come back to it, open it up, and read it. And ask yourself, if this was somebody giving you a list from your child about your son, this is why your son can't see your grandbaby. Ask yourself, what would your response be to that list?
You want to fight her?
And half the time, you're going to be like, girl, if you don't give me my grandbaby,
Right. You gonna want to fight her.
you
That's
know?
good. That's good. I love
So,
it.
yeah.
I think that's good. And look, I want him. This my girl. By look, I won't even go. I got an emotional intelligence workbook and journal that I made myself, baby.
There you
You know what I'm
go.
saying? And I'm talking about you. You can definitely hit your girl up, because one of my favorite parts in this journal, hold on, is the wheel of emotions. Right, being able to really articulate how you feel and why. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because if you say you mad, but none of these things ain't why you mad, you just mad because they didn't do what you said do. You just mad because
Yeah.
you can't control somebody. You just mad because you don't feel like you the boss no more. I'm not gonna lie. I do feel like I did feel like I was losing a certain part of control, but I was really gaining control when my
Yeah.
son moved in with his dad. It's so different, you know. But she said, compare how you feel to what's real. That means separate your emotions from your logic. And
Yes.
scientifically, women's in their brain, our left and right side, the logic and emotion it is connected. It is. And that's why we have to sit down and consciously separate those things. so that we can make decisions. Some do need to be made with emotions. Some do need to be made with logic, but you don't want to make an uninformed, illogical decision because you're going through warfare because your mind, your emotions, and your logic don't match.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas men, their logic and emotions are separate. So they have to consciously sit down sometimes. That's why when we want them to understand how we feel, they have to put those things together to really get it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm making decisions based on what makes sense to me, not how I feel. So, it gives us power, but it can also be a curse if we're not able to really sit down and be conscious and self-aware enough to separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to say, I want to give y'all one more piece of advice. Listen to Lillia. That's it. That's all. Okay. She said what she said now. Um, can you give everybody, first of all, I want to say this. If you guys want to sow a seed, nobody's obligated. But I always tell everybody, I don't charge for wisdom. I charge for knowledge because you can read the same book I did. But if you want to sow a seed,
That's
if you
good.
want to sow a seed, I have no problem with that. Both of our cash apps are at the bottom. If you want to sow a seed into Lillia, and you could, guys, that's I want to focus on her. But both of our cash apps are at the bottom. My YouTube channel is Accountable Black Woman. My Facebook page is Accountable Black Woman. I got a business page called Coach Lana. I am a certified personal life coach. Accountability, emotional intelligence, all that's my jam. But I would like for you to one more time give them your name and all of your information because some people came on late.
Yes. So my personal Instagram is I am Lillia Raquel, and that's I am, and then LILLIARAQUEL. And then my business page is Lillia Raquel Designs. And then my website is lilliaraquel.com. So I also, on top of being a mom, I do poetry. I'm a business owner. I own a custom apparel, so I make shirts as well as flyers and design websites and all of those things as well. So yeah, you can find me at any of those locations.
All righty. And if y'all want to join the group Accountable Black Woman, send me a request. I'll let you come in, but I'll invite you in. And then tomorrow, I always do this is something I'm gonna start doing every Friday, is allowing us to promote our businesses. So tomorrow I would like for you to, and you have time, promote your business and everything. I'll probably put a post about it for us to promote our businesses up there and everything. So we can kind of feed off of each other and support each other because I
Yeah.
think what you're doing is amazing. You do good work and I love it. Your shirts and everything, I love it.
Thank
So
you.
I appreciate everybody that joined us on tonight. There's more conversations that need to be had. Probably all y'all in the comments gonna be on the show if you ain't, because I know my cousin already been up here. Peaches, get ready. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, I'm for real. Y'all get Trina knows she coming up here already. Cause it's some things that we need to discuss. We got to talk about these things. And generally, what God has me do is if I see something from someone that I can learn from them, that's what we're going to talk about, especially if it's something I've battled with and I feel like others need to learn more about it. Right. And so I just love the way you parent. I love your transparency. You really are. When you say transparency is you advocate for that, you are not kidding. I love it. So I want to pray us out. You want to pray us out? You just started being a prayer warrior.
Oh no, relax.
Ah!
Yeah, I can. I can.
All right.
Um, Father God, I just thank you for your grace and mercy, God. I thank you for the opportunity to come together and be transparent, God. I thank you for the heart of transparency, God. I understand that it is a gift, God. So I just thank you for allowing me to be a vessel, God. I thank you for the experience that you've provided me with, God, for every trial that you brought me through, God, for every tribulation, for every argument that I've had with my children's father, for every misunderstanding, God. I thank you for those things, God, because it brought me to a space where I can help other women pull through, God. So I just thank you, God. I thank you for Alana and the space that she has created, Father God, to help us become accountable as Black women, because we know that leaning on one another, Father God, that sharing our testimony is how we will grow, God. We know that you send blessings to other people, God. So I thank you for allowing us to be blessings, God. I pray for every woman on this live, God. I pray for anyone who is experiencing bitterness in their heart, God, who is experiencing resentment in their heart, God. I ask that you right now in this moment start to do the work, God. Start to
Yes,
change
yes,
their heart, God. Start to expose them to themselves, God. Father God, I ask that when they look in the mirror, God, that they see the areas that they need to grow, God. I ask that you heal the hearts of the fathers, God. I ask that you begin to prick the minds, Father God. I ask that you begin to change the minds, Father God. We know that you have the power to change minds and change hearts in the blink of an eye, God. So I just ask that you do what you do best, God. I just thank you in advance for what you're going to do, God. I pray with strong faith, God, because I know that you are capable, God. So I just thank you in advance, God. It is in your son Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
amen. You better come through, prayer warrior. Y'all, we were supposed to do this show last Thursday, and she got into an accident Wednesday because the devil thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she was still gonna try to do it. She was like, "I'ma still."
I really
She had
did,
a
but
neck brace on and everything, y'all. She had a neck brace on. She had an arm brace on. She said she was gonna still do this show. I was like, "Girl, no, I'm kidding." She was.
did, but like, oh, my body was so. I was like, you know what? Nope, nope. I was like, you know what? I want to put my best foot forward. So let's reconvene. But I definitely wanted to make it happen because, like you said, it's a conversation that needs to be had for sure.
All right. Well, I thank you and I appreciate you. And I'm gonna let y'all go tonight. And if you wait 1 second, let me just close this live. How we do this now? Because I thought my phone will do not disturb. I love you, ladies. I appreciate you all, and I will talk to y'all
Bye,
next
ladies.
time. Hold on. I'm trying to end the live. It's this little, what's this little smudge thing? Hold on, hold on. Oh no. Okay, there we go. All right.